So again, a number of you just joined us a few seconds ago. So welcome to Outdoors Victoria's morning tea. My name's Andrew Knight. I'm with Outdoors Victoria. And we also have Luke Parker from Outdoors Victoria joining us as well. So if you want to give everyone a wave, Luke.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks, Luke, for being there. So Luke's with us working on resources for primary school teachers to do more learning outside the classroom. And that's a project that's been going for a couple of years, and we're delighted to be able to publicly release through our newsletter in September those particular resources. So there could be absolutely ideal timing with potentially what might happen in term 4 in Victoria. And Luke's also with Australian Catholic University, teaching teachers health, PE and outdoor education. So thanks, Luke, for being with us today and your support. We also have Emma Watts, Director of Partnerships, joining us today. So good morning, Emma, from Parks Victoria. Thanks very much for being here with us today. Now that I think we've got everyone in, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we all work and live, as well as the outdoor natural spaces we enjoy. For my family, we live in Eltham. These custodians are Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. I recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community, and I offer my humble respect and thanks to elders past, present and emerging. So welcome to a couple of good people who just joined us now. My name's Andrew Knight from Outdoors Victoria, and I've got with me today from Outdoors Victoria, Luke Parker, who's our co-host. So if you just want to say one more hello, Luke, to everyone. Thanks very much. So we've got a number of extra good people joining us today. I've just seen Dom Courtney, who's the CEO of Outdoors, the Outdoors up in Queensland, being the Queensland Outdoor Recreation Federation. So good morning, Dom, from Queensland. We'll send some clouds your way. I also wanted to acknowledge the support of the Victorian Government across Parks Victoria, DELP, Sport and Recreation Victoria, and the Department of Education for their funding support. And I also thank a number of Outdoors Victoria volunteer board members that are on the call today with us as well. So we've got a number of items to get through today. Because we do have so many of you on board today, it's a little different than when we have our morning tea with 30 or 40 organisations. We've got, what are we up to now, 73. So what I'd encourage you to do today is, and I see that just about everyone's on mute, so thank you very much for that. We appreciate that, so we can really make sure that everyone can hear what's going on. And also, we've got a chat function. So if you aren't familiar with Zoom, if you hover with your cursor over the middle of the bottom of your screen, you'll see there's a number of options that should be there. And one of them is the chat option. So if you'd like to provide any level of feedback or a question, please prop them in there. At particular points, we'll just see how we move forward with this. We might be able to hear from a number of you, but we've obviously got a whole lot of great people on today, so we need to see what we can do via the chat function. And we've got Luke that's going to be bringing up and verbalising those particular questions and some of the feedback that's provided through that chat function. What we'll also do is, if there's questions that we need to get answered offline, we're going to be recording today's session. So I just want to let everyone know of that. You should see up in the top left of your screen, that does always let you know on Zoom that this is being recorded. So if you've got an objection with it being recorded today, I'm sorry to say, but this is the most effective way that we can actually pass this on to a whole lot of people that maybe can't join today. I'm sorry if you do not want to be recorded today. Please either black out your screen or leave and come back to me. You're very welcome to connect with me directly at ceo@outdoorsvictoria.org.au to book an appointment to have a chat with me at any time, and we can work through things if you're not comfortable with this being recorded today. So thanks very much for your understanding, everyone. What I'm going to touch on is there's a couple of questions that have come in prior. A couple of those that Emma Watts, the Director of Partnerships at Parks Victoria, will kindly get to in a couple of minutes. But there's also been a couple of developments, one of them with JobKeeper, I've just been made aware of this morning from Outdoors Victoria's accountant. So I just wanted to pass on that news immediately. So if anyone needs to take action with their organisation, they do so rather swiftly, because our accountant's actually requesting that this information be provided by tomorrow, Friday the 21st of August. So I'll quickly just read that out. It's only going to take me 30 seconds, but hopefully it may assist a number of you and your organisations. So just says that please note the ATO have recently updated JobKeeper eligibility to include employees employed as at 1st of the 7th, 2020. So as of the 1st of July, 2020, previously only employees on the books as at the 1st of March, 2020 were eligible. The recent amendment to JobKeeper eligibility also extends to casual employees on the books as at 1st of July, 2020, who have been employed by your business for at least 12 months and have worked regular and systematic hours. I know that's, some of that may be only very small amounts of comfort to you, but I just want to pass it on just in case. They go on to say, if you have taken on any employees between the 2nd of March 2020 to the 1st of July 2020, or have casual employees who may now be eligible, please pass them through to your accountant and add them to the JobKeeper scheme. And our accountant's asking that we do that back to his organisation by tomorrow, Friday, the 21st of August. So I'd suggest that a number of your organisations, if you are now going to have a few more people eligible, thank goodness, is that you do that rather promptly. So I just want to bring that up immediately for everyone. We have also had some news today that's floating around in the US as well, and it's now reached the Herald Sun today, talking about open air classrooms for term 4 in Victoria could be a possibility, and floating that as an idea. So obviously we're very keen and advocate strongly for outdoor learning, and we'll be releasing those resources publicly for primary school teachers very soon that covers off on a number of different parts of the curriculum. So I might get Luke to chat to us in a minute around that, but also just wanted to get your thoughts and feedback as to how, if we did go that way, your approach to how you'd be teaching your students, because I know that I've got a number of educators on board here today from primary and secondary schools, because we'll be reaching in to our senior contacts at Department of Education to strongly advocate for that, and also offer our assistance and consulting skills to be able to help them work that up for term 4, if that is going to be a possibility, to help out the health of both the teachers and also the students in term 4. So Luke, I might just quickly check in with you, and if you could possibly just fill us in on those resources, and then we'll quickly after that go to Emma Watts, who'll give us a bit of a rundown. Thank you very much, Emma, on what's happening at Parks Victoria, and then we'll go to a number of questions after that.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrew. So over the last triennium, Outdoors Victoria, in partnership with a range of different teaching associations, including GTAV, Geography, looking at ACHBAR, Parks Victoria, and a range of other partners, we've completed a bunch of teacher resource documentation across a range of different areas, including water, science, maths, PE, arts, geography, reading, writing, and a range of different areas. So over the last 3 years, we've been working through these, and we're proud to say that we've finished the first 10 of those, which will be sent out in the next newsletter, and they'll also be put online by the DET, hopefully in the coming days. So we'll send out an email when they're all ready to go, but it's mainly just to provide to primary school teachers and educators, just to try and increase their confidence in using the outdoor environment as a teaching tool, and not to necessarily be scared that it's not four walls and a roof, and increasing their confidence that you can do things like science outside and the benefits of doing science outside. So once these are all finalised on the DET website, we'll send them out, but we think it's fantastic timing with the research that's coming out, and with the news article this morning from the Herald Sun. We think it could sort of be one of those really useful teaching and learning tools, especially at the moment.
Thanks, Luke, very much for that. And just also want to acknowledge our partners in that particular production of those resources. So they include ASHBA, which is effectively the Phys Ed Teachers Association of Victoria, also Environment Education Victoria, Geography Teachers Education Victoria. There's also a number of others that, Luke, you can add, as well as Parks Victoria and their education division. So thanks very much, Luke, for that. The other organisations that we're working with?
So we're working with a range of different ones. So we're working with the History Teachers Association, with the Maths Teachers Association. We're working with EVE, which is the Environmental Education Association. So a range of different partners. And if you feel that your organisation may like to be involved in that as well, more than happy for anyone to send Andrew an email, and I'm happy to connect with you and see if you could be involved in the project as we come into the last final 6 months of that now.
Yeah, because we've produced those 9 or 10 toolkits, and we've got another 5 to 6 to go by December 31. So yeah, thanks very much. And please just connect through to my email address, and I'll forward it on to Luke. So mine's ceo@outdoorsvictoria.org.au. Without further ado, we might welcome Emma Watts, Director of Partnerships at Parks Victoria. We had Jared Parsons in Emma's team last time. So thanks very much for catching up with us today, Emma, and the floor's yours.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you for inviting me to catch up with the group today. We've got a lot going on at Parks at the moment. I think you know, with the challenges have been with everything else pretty much closing down, people have been heading to parks for their exercise and their recreation. So we've had a really busy period with, you know, responding to some of the challenges that has actually resulted in. So, you know, closing parks where we weren't actually able to help people socially distance or physically distance because it was too congested. You know, having to manage significant, you know, car parks and those sort of issues as well around congestion. So it's actually been a really busy time for Parks Victoria. I know a lot of people are having a bit of a quiet time, but it's definitely not the case for us. We've also got a lot of activity going on post bushfire recovery, so I'll update you a little bit on that as well. This week has been, it continues to be busy, so we've responded to things like the 5 kilometre rule that was overturned yesterday, so people can drive to their parks. We were sort of on the verge of considering closing some car parks yesterday, except for people who really needed them for accessibility. So we're having to respond on an almost daily basis to the challenges that come up and the restrictions as they change. So, you know, I would certainly say if people are interested in finding out parks that are closed, how we're managing congestion, all of that sort of stuff, our website is the continuous source of truth. So we have a dedicated COVID page that people can access via the homepage, via a button on the homepage, and it's the place that we're updating daily. So, you know, while we are sending you out emails when there's a significant event and a significant change, the website is there for sort of daily tweaks and daily changes. So definitely refer to that page if you need to. And if you are going to visit a park, I would advise checking that page just to make sure that it is still open and what assets are open there.
And Emma, just to jump in there,
Yeah.
Robin from Outdoors Victoria just kindly put up the link to your site, also on the chat function. So everyone can jump in there if they want to copy and paste it back into their browser.
Yeah. Fantastic. So yeah, look at it. It is just the general parks webpage, and the COVID stuff is pretty apparent. But yeah, look, it's certainly updated on a whole range of things. So there's questions on there about, can I go bushwalking? Can I do this? Can I do that? So it doesn't mean that if there's something on there that we haven't addressed that you can't contact us and and ask us to to respond to that or provide some guidance. We're often a little bit I guess getting the information at the same time as the rest of Victoria. So we certainly don't necessarily get a heads up a couple of days in advance to help plan these things out. So it may take us a day or two. When we had the most recent change in restrictions, particularly in Melbourne with stage 4, it took us a couple of days to figure out what that's going to look like. We often need to change our cleaning protocols if we've got toilets open. So for toilets, for example, we've actually doubled our cleaning protocols in all parks where toilets are operational. So there's a lot of things that we need to respond to, also while keeping our staff safe. So, making sure they've got all the PPE they need. The majority of staff, particularly our in-field staff, don't have the option of working from home. We need them in the parks. So we're managing that stuff as well. So we did have a question, Andrew, that I might just respond to about doing some recce's for training in parks. So I think this was put forward in the newsletter that had the link for this meeting in it. So we've done a little bit of work this week, and we actually think that is possible to go ahead. So that it obviously is referring to regional parks. In Melbourne, there's certainly nothing other than than just some exercise. But if people do want to do training recce's and they are officially working, then we are absolutely comfortable with that. Obviously, the business and the person will have personal responsibility for adhering to all restrictions. So they need to make sure, obviously, that the park is open. They need to not be undertaking any camping because that's not permitted in the current stage. They need to be social distancing, wearing masks. All of that sort of stuff is personal responsibility. But it is a work activity, and it is something that is permissible. So that's, I guess, some really good news if people want to do those recce's, so that when it's time to launch back into programs again, people can really hit the ground running and have their staff fully trained.
And Emma, is that specifically for the licensed tour operators, which there's, I think, 495 of them in Victoria?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So it's work. So, we're obviously not saying to people that, you can go and do, these recreation activities are allowed in regional Victoria for the general public. But we're certainly saying that if it is your work, then you can travel to do that. So the government in regional Victoria is encouraging people not to travel too far from home unless it's work and they need to do that. So yes, that's absolutely something that can proceed for all of the LTOs.
Fantastic, Emma. That's really good news. And so, again, it would be, with all the usual COVID safe expectations around masks and everything else.
Yeah.
And it would be, is it 2 people from that organisation that can be doing that reconnaissance or training?
Yeah, so that's definitely our understanding of the restrictions. People can certainly contact DHHS if they want to inquire. So I guess we're not the regulator in that space. So Department of Human Services is actually the regulator. So we've sought the information, but if there are really specific things that people want to ask about or just want to double check ahead of time, then I would advise going to DHHS. So yeah, they need to adhere to all the social distancing protocols. As I mentioned, if it's an expedition, you can't actually camp because that's actually not permitted in regional Victoria at the moment. People need to be wearing masks. So that's not something that we would have responsibility for. People need to take that responsibility themselves within their own organisation and their own person. Yeah,
great. And then obviously we were able to confirm that if there's licensed tour operators, like what happened in stage 3 when we're back in stage 3 in Greater Melbourne, that there's also the option, again, following all the right COVID safe protocol, to actually be able to take 2 clients onto parks assets to better guide them in a particular activity.
Yeah, so in regional Vic, the activities they're probably comparable to what Melbourne had in stage 3. So that, you know, things like surfing can be done, bushwalking can be done, rock climbing can be done, fishing, all of those sorts of things. Yeah, so you know, that's absolutely something that can proceed under those restrictions.
Yeah, thanks, Emma. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. No, happy to clarify. We had a bit of good news only just recently about some further rent relief. So I think that's, or we call it rent relief, but it, you know, it applies obviously to license fees as well. So we will be sending out an email on that in the next day or so. But we've just had information that the Treasurer has improved the government's rent relief policy to be extended. So people who either have applied but only applied for a certain period or haven't applied can actually apply up until the 15th of September this year. So that's I think, you know, something it's great that it's being extended. It is only at this stage being extended to the 31st of December. I mean, obviously these things, you know, JobKeeper's already been reviewed, and you know, these things will be reviewed closer to the end of the year. So people do need to be eligible for or be participating in the JobKeeper program, but then they can apply for that rental relief policy. So we will send out some information with links and details in the coming days, but that's some, I guess, a bit of good news that, you know, at least might take some of the pressure off in the short term.
Okay, thanks, Emma. And that's for government assets, isn't it, that organisations are leasing?
Yeah, so, you know, if it applies for a whole range of stakeholders right across Parks Victoria. So yes, it applies to LTO licenses, but it also applies to things like cafes that we have in parks, or, you know, particular, I guess, businesses that operate in our parks that aren't run by us. So yeah, so any of those organisations can apply for that relief, which is great.
Thank you.
Just wanted to give a really quick snapshot on bushfire recovery. So works are still progressing. We actually ran 4 community information sessions online this week. So they were really well received, and the information that we put across, I think, you know, helped to keep people really informed about the progress. We will keep doing those updates, and we will keep sending out information. If people aren't getting information about those community information sessions and they do want that, then I would encourage you to shoot through an email to us, and we'll make sure that you're added to the list. So the best email address for us is tourism@parks.vic.gov.au. Robin might help me by popping that in the chat again, if that's okay. So, you know, any questions, I guess, that come out of today, or if there's anything that I potentially haven't addressed and you'd like an answer to, we're happy to take that offline and, you know, answer that question if you shoot us through an email. So we've actually started participating in a bushfire recovery toolkit. So working with Ecotourism Australia, Destination Gippsland, South Gippsland Shire Council, Visit Victoria and us. We've joined forces and are developing a kit for tourism operators, including LTOs. So it'll help operators really tell the fire story, and also encourage visitors back to Gippsland and those fire affected areas. There'll be a whole lot of things in there, fact sheets, video updates. So we'll keep you posted on that, but we're looking at progressing that closer to the end of the year. We are also looking for potentially anybody who might have some amazing stories to tell us about, you know, the impact of fire on their business, or, you know, how they've been able to recover previously, and have some good news stories. So if it's something that you're interested in finding out more about or potentially being involved in, then shoot us through an email to that email address. I just thought it was worth doing a really quick update on Grampians Peaks Trail. I think most people in this group would be across it, or at least aware that it's happening. So it is progressing. It's progressing, obviously, you know, with the majority of the park actually closed to visitors at the moment, but the work is still going ahead. So, you know, 160 kilometres of walking trail, 13-day, 12-night walk. It's going to be absolutely incredible. We've broken it up into 3 main sections for day walks as well. So the northern section will contain a signature experience that'll be offered exclusively to LTOs. That'll be a 3-day, 2-night experience, including hiker huts accommodation in the park. We're still refining some of those details, price of accommodation, that sort of thing. But we have actually sent out a prospectus as of last week to all LTOs that operate in that area. If people do want to be a part of that, then they should have all the information they need. If you do want to be a part of it and you haven't received that prospectus, then again, shoot us through an email and we can send that through to you. So GPT is scheduled to be completed by the end of December 2020. Obviously, you know, COVID restrictions pending on opening dates, and hopefully we can all get back out into regional Vic by then, and then open for summer 2021, so fairly soon. We will hold an online info session on that prospectus in September, and just to update on the project as well with more detail. So that will come through in our normal LTO emails. Again, if you aren't getting those, then just shoot us through an email. There's lots of interest in the product so far. It's obviously, you know, going to be a really iconic hike, and yeah, we're certainly getting some great interest from LTOs, which is great. I think Jared mentioned last month in the session that we're pulling together some videos to promote using the services of LTOs. We've had to delay the filming on that a little bit, just because we're having some issues with actually getting people out into parks to do the filming. We're, you know, very mindful of only sending people out for absolutely essential work, so we've had to be a little bit careful about how we do that. We've still got some gaps in footage, so, you know, if there is anything that you have around, you know, your product or your service, or even some B-roll footage of some great, you know, iconic locations, then we're really open to receiving that information, and it will help us, you know, promote the use of LTOs. So again, just shoot us through an email, and we'd love to have you all involved in that if possible. I just thought, as a final sort of update from me about our Junior Ranger program. So we've made the decision, even though school holidays is starting after the restrictions potentially change, hopefully in September, we have actually made the decision to not continue with face-to-face Junior Ranger programs in September. It's just, you know, we don't know what the group situation is going to look like. Normally we would have at least 20 participants in each program. So we've made the decision to go online with that. And we've done that for the last 2 holiday programs as well. So our digital uptake is being really well received. We are finding people are getting a little bit of digital fatigue, as we all know. But yeah, we're definitely finding that, you know, that people are enjoying using that sort of content when they're at home, and we're able to relate it to local parks, and also to, you know, if people don't even have a local park, they can go to, you know, something they can do in their backyard or even on their balcony. So we're getting some good take up on those, so which is great. So that's, I guess, probably about it from me in terms of sort of specific updates over the last month or so. Andrew, did you want to do questions at the end with all general questions, or?
I think that we might see what Luke's got for you straight away.
Yep.
Yeah, there's obviously the whole big announcement around climbing and other activities with the new temporary protection zones announced. So we'll probably touch on a little bit of that too, between you and me, and we'll see what Luke has for us now.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, and thanks for that, Emma. We've just got a couple of questions coming through. So the first question that we had was just regarding the recce's aspect. Is that the same for secondary and tertiary education facilities, or just LTOs?
So from our understanding, the schools can do it as well. I would advise that they check with DET, just to check that it's something that DET is comfortable with. Obviously, you know, we have, I guess, you know, that direct relationship with LTOs, you know, as part of our, you know, our paid arrangement. But yeah, I would certainly advise them to check to see if that's something that the Department of Education is comfortable with them doing. We certainly are, but I would really encourage them to check.
Great, thank you.
And sorry, Luke, and Emma, if there's obviously a number of schools that would have a DET direct link, but if you're an independent or a Catholic school and don't have that straightforward link, if you want to come through to me and give me that feedback that you'd need that answer, please just drop me an email at ceo@outdoorsvictoria.org.au, and I'll hook into the DET. Thanks for that question, Luke.
No worries. The next question was just around the Alpine National Park.
Yep.
So I was just seeking clarification if staff can visit the Alpine National Park for work whilst it's closed, because their understanding is currently they can't access that area.
That understanding is correct. So nobody can access, obviously our staff can to maintain the park, but no, that when a park is closed, it is closed to visitors of all types. So yep, that's where we're sitting with that at the moment. Obviously we're hoping that situation will change, come the next round of restrictions potentially being lifted. We really just were trying to discourage people from going to those destination parks as not just using their local park for exercise. So there are some parks like Alpine National Park where people have other alternatives for local parks, but where it would actually, particularly with the snow and Alpine region at the moment, we really wanted to discourage people from going to those parks as a destination activity. So we've closed a lot of the snow areas just because people would be gathering there, and we wouldn't be able to help people physically distance in that point in time.
Perfect, thank you. And just the final two questions that we've got through is just in regards to the website currently states that LTO are not permitted to operate in parks across Victoria, and they're just wondering if the update will then apply across to the website in the coming period.
Yeah, look, I mean, that is technically correct. I guess this is it's not a loophole, but it almost is a little bit of an aside, because they're not technically operating and taking visitors in doing those recce's. So it's more that kind of behind the scenes work. So I guess that's why we wanted to communicate that directly to LTOs. We don't want to give people the impression that you can go on a big, group tour if the general public is looking at our website. So that's why we sort of wanted to communicate it in this way. So we'll make sure that goes into our LTO update that everybody should be receiving as well.
Perfect, thank you. And then the last one was just wondering if there's any update on the Warburton mountain biking project.
I don't have an update on that, but I'm happy to get one and to send it through to Andrew to include in his next message out. Happy to do that.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. That's all the questions. Thank you.
I know there was one there from David about schools being included as well as LTO. I'm not sure 100% what that means. So David, if you want to shoot us an email, and we'll take that one offline and address it for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great, Emma. Well, thank you very much for that. Sorry, Luke, if you got any others, or you're right for the moment.
That seems to be everything at the moment. If there's any others that come through, we can revisit them at the end as well. If anyone else thinks of any questions as we progress through.
Wonderful. So I think there's likely a number of you good people on today because of the news last week around Grampians Garrowwood and also Mount Arapiles Tuan State Park with the announcement of the temporary protection zones around some pretty significant climbing areas in Garrowwood, and also some bouldering areas in Arapiles Tuan. So I just wanted to urge everyone to continue to keep an eye on what we've refreshing their memory on and everything with what we've just put out with our newsletter. There's some fairly substantial information there, but probably some extra points as to what Outdoors Victoria's involvement from here on in will be in that regard, is that we've got some work going on consulting around the governance framework of a potential climbing peak in Victoria. So that work, we're able to access some funds from Sport and Recreation Victoria, which is a government agency, and are working in partnership with Sport Climbing Victoria, who are also able to access a small amount of funds as well. And together we were able to get together enough funds to put together a consultation project around that governance of climbing in Victoria. That is one piece of this puzzle. So totally admit that that is something that's more for the medium and the longer term for Victoria, potentially. So the next stage with that is that consultation piece has been done, and there's now a report being produced that will be pretty swiftly reviewed by the boards of SCV and also OV, and then will be passed to the Founding Council, which has other climbing community members, organisations represented. That includes the Victorian Climbing Council and Western Victorian Climbing Club, amongst a number of other organisations that are signatories to that MOU to work together as a team on that particular piece. So we'll be then able to circulate after that a little bit more news in that as to what are the potential options around that governance going forward over the next sort of 6 to 12 months. Sadly, it's nothing that can move super swiftly, but depending on which option, it could be a little quicker than that. The other piece is of course, around we're working closely with Parks Victoria and Will Cox and some of his team that have been working on the climbing restrictions, and also with the Garrwood Wimmera Reconciliation Network, who have been requested by the 3 traditional owner groups to advise them in this particular situation. So we will be continuing to add any level of advice to both Parks Victoria and to Gwaun, as well as, of course, feeding into and getting advice from the founding council on the particular issues that we've got at the moment. This is a complex piece, but when the heart surgeons came together 40 years ago and said, well, it's going to be really hard to complete heart surgery, they did not give up. We've just got to keep trying to work as best we can together respectfully with the traditional owners, Parks Victoria, and the other climbing representatives to get to a solution that's going to be positive for everyone. And this is not a short process, but we're definitely here to see it through, and with a whole lot of help from a whole lot of organisations. We are hopeful that there can be some positivity that will come out of these temporary protection zones, and I know there's a whole lot of good number of people working on that right now, and we look forward to watching that very closely. There's also the land management plan, and we're a member of the stakeholder reference group on that piece of work. So we'll be continuing to input our recommendations when it comes to, of course, respecting Aboriginal cultural heritage and environmental concerns, and coming out with something that hopefully will be always a compromise, but looking forward to making sure that we can all share country in the most appropriate way in those really important areas to all of us. So I will stop now, but Luke, I just wanted to see if there's any particular questions or feedback from anyone on chat around that, please.
So there's been a few comments, but just people connecting with Emma and Emma's email address. So at this stage, nothing in sort of public areas, but if there's aspects that pop up, I'll let you know.
Thanks very much for that. Now, there's also been a question that has come up, Emma, as well, around Bushwalking Victoria committee members queried that with the DHHS guidelines around stage 3 areas of Victoria, there's mention in there of, that you can go diving, go fishing, but doesn't actually mention one of the most often used pursuits to get into the outdoors right now, which is walking and bushwalking.
Yep.
So I just wanted to get your guidance, what PV's take is on that, and then maybe what we can do with HHS maybe.
Yeah, so it is clarified on our website. So we've actually said that people, obviously in Metro Melbourne, can only do the 5 kilometres once a day. But in regional areas, you can leave your home for exercise and recreation, and that does include bushwalking. So yes, we've absolutely clarified that on our website.
Yeah, great. Okay. So thank you for that.
Can I just ask if people, I'm getting quite a few private messages, which I'm happy to respond to, but I can't listen to you at the same time. So if people could just shoot through those messages to that tourism email for me, and we'll respond after the event. I'm trying to keep up, but I'm also trying to listen to you at the same time. So if people sending those private messages would shoot that through, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to quickly clarify, Emma, so it's tourism at
tourism@parks.vic.gov.au. I think Robin put it in the chat for us.
I'll just put it in again just in
case.
case.
Great. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Great. The other piece of news from interstate actually that occurred middle of last week was the Premier of New South Wales, Gladys Berejiklian, actually after a number of female students, high school students, went on a retreat. They returned with COVID-19. And just for your information, everyone who worked at that particular retreat and has been tested and was negative for COVID. So nothing to do with the particular venue. There's a whole lot of freedom of movement in New South Wales, as everyone understands. But the Premier did take it upon herself to say that she was concerned about this. And then about 36 hours later, both sporting activities that were overnight, as well as overnight camping in New South Wales, restrictions were introduced. So just wanted to just say a big shout out, because I see that Laurie Modd, who's the CEO of Outdoors New South Wales and ACT, is on with us and has a beautiful background. So Laurie, I might just get you to give us that little bit of extra detail, and then I'll finish off with what I've had to do with the Premier of Victoria and the Department of Education in Victoria. Thanks.
Yeah,
Laurie.
no worries, Andrew, and thank you for having us. And like Dom, it's great to network across all different states and share content, because it's what makes us carry on in the way that we need to. Yeah, as Andrew articulated, our government has taken a very risk-aversion approach following some school cases. One was at Tangara School, which apparently came from a retreat that they went on. It was actually in a convention centre. It wasn't an outdoor retreat, and it was organised by the families, not by the school. And it was a group of 5 families, I believe. So we were pretty quickly off the mark, because the Premier responded quite off the cuff the following day to say, that's it, no extracurricular activities, they're all off the cards. So we reacted as an organisation and put out an open letter that sort of reflected the benefits of what we do again, and got some traction there. But unfortunately, that followed, as Andrew said, with some heavier restrictions, which included no inter-school sport activities, as well as not travelling outside your local area. So that restricted not only what we could do in our day camp activities. We still haven't been able to do overnight camps since COVID began, since fires began in some areas. So unlike all other states, we still haven't resumed overnight camps at all. So our Department of Education has been quite restrictive in that, and recommended not to go down that path. We have now gone to the media with it, and unfortunately taken the approach of, we need to get the message out wide and loud about using outdoor resources at this time. As you just said this morning, there's a lot more research about airborne, air transmission with this, and the safest place to be is outdoors. So watch this space. We might be starting it off, but certainly as you guys come out, we hope that everyone will benefit from the activity that we've started, and we'll continue to do so until we get a little bit of notoriety at the government level. How's that, Andrew? Is there anything else you wanted to ask?
Thank you. A very tough situation, and thanks for summarising it so aptly, Laurie. Thank you. And if there's any particular queries for Laurie, of course, shoot them through on the chat. Thank you, Laurie. As a result of that, I contacted our allocated advisor in the Premier's office to just get assurance that they had every question answered and all the information they needed about the positive effects of being in the outdoors currently. And they were very happy with what we've supplied so far, and also agreed that they would be checking in with myself, or if there's a more specific question that needed answering when it came to camp operators, then that I would be checking in with CEO Pete Griffiths at the Australian Camps Association. So that was what happened with the Premier's office. And then also I've checked in with senior personnel in the Department of Education to also remind them of the offer of any amount of consultation around this through to us if there's any media queries about the situation in Victoria. And also obviously use the opportunity to check in as to their latest thoughts around what's happening with schools and overnight camps, and also day activities, outdoor activities. So there's a very dynamic space at the moment in Victoria, as we all know. Things are looking a lot more positive over the last couple of days, but they'll be getting back to me next week with a few more thoughts and scenarios, and we'll obviously be checking in with a number of you if we need further advice. But we'll also be obviously checking in again after the news that's now made the big papers in Victoria, like the Herald Sun, around outdoor learning and exploring that concept of learning outside the classroom in Term 4. So we'll keep everyone in the loop on that, and likely we'll reach to a number of experts in that field to help out DET if they need our help. So that was it for that particular item. I might check back in with Luke if there's any particular questions that have come up.
Yeah, there's been a couple of questions come through just in the last minute or two, so I'm just reading through those. There was just a question in regards to, has there been any indication that once restrictions are lifted for Melbourne and surrounds, regarding, do we know what the DET are looking at doing with camps and excursions? I haven't heard anything, but have you heard anything in regards to what we believe may be the indication if things do get relaxed in terms of restrictions?
Yeah, so that's exactly what I'll be getting some more information on, hopefully as early as next week. I know that we're heading through this Term 3 now, so we need to get some visibility on that. So definitely, as soon as I've got more information, it'll go out in a bulletin. So if there's anyone on here now that's not subscribing to our newsletter, please go to our website to subscribe. Or if you've got an email from me, in the bottom of my e-signature, there's a green area to click on that says please subscribe free. And that means that you'll receive instantly that kind of information in a bulletin. We also obviously have the mid-month, every month newsletter that goes out apart from January as well. So thanks, Luke, for that question. Hopefully looking forward to getting a lot more information soon from DET.
No worries. There's also the link to sign up for the newsletter that's been placed in chat. I placed that in about 20 minutes ago. If you can, if you want to find that, that's there as well, where you can input your name and also your email. Just in regards to some other questions, Matthew Franks just noted that the open letter by Outdoors New South Wales was really great and really highlighted the improvements around mental health and well-being. So if you haven't had a look at that, it's on Facebook and it's on the websites as well. So feel free to have a look at that. And then there's just a sort of question around how do sort of we as outdoor providers plan and create a purposeful and deliberate use of nature to support sort of people's mental health. So some good conversation around those aspects. And then other than that, just a few questions that have come through. What I'll do is I'll throw back to you. And then in the next break, I'll have read those questions and send them through to you. Thanks, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. So that was one of my next points, actually, to bring up what Matthew's kindly submitted to, is that immersion in nature is one thing, but purposeful, deliberate use of nature and outdoor adventure following a therapeutic model is a proven way to deliver positive mental health benefits. That Matthew hopes that the easing of lockdown can focus Outdoors Victoria and all outdoor education providers in utilising basic models or tools to support these wellbeing benefits, as advocated by the Australian Association of Bush Adventure Therapy. So I think that Matthew must be online. We've also got Rachel online that has been doing quite a lot of bush adventure therapy. So I don't know whether, Matt, you'd like to have a very quick chat for a minute about that, about where these organisations can go into the ABAT site or to a particular person to get guidance on this bush adventure therapy that could be really positive for what comes up over the next number of months and years.
Yes, well, thanks very much. It's really just to highlight that the government are really looking at seeing a surge, unfortunately, in poor youth mental health, and Headspace have highlighted this as well. And I know that there's been a lot of funding going into Headspace to be able to support young people's mental health after the lockdown is finished. And the use of nature, as was highlighted by Laurie in that letter, and I think it's so important for us to say, well, we can get into nature and it's fantastic, but how do we actually purposefully use it? So it could be just simple things. It could be simple things like a mindful minute. It could be simple tools that we can use as outdoor providers just to say, yeah, we understand that it's been really tough over the last 6 months. How can we really focus on you having a healthy relationship with your backyard, with nature that's there? And the ABAT website is a great place to start off, but also thinking of Youth Flourish, for example, which is up in Queensland, and they've got a great course that they do there as well that's looking at really using bush adventure therapy as a way to recover from mental health, as do we here at Each as well. So it's a program that we run. Thanks, Robin. Yeah, really positive program to be able to say this is a purpose. We're doing this for a purpose, and it's going to affect every single young person that we will work with in some way or another.
Thanks very much, Matthew, and thanks, Robin, also for popping up Youth Flourish on there as well. So if people want to connect with Matthew, they're of course welcome to. Might just, and fantastic, read my mind, Robin. So just the Australian Association of Bush Adventure Therapy website's just gone up. Please have a look at that. There'll be some great resources, and also I'm sure there'll be some contact details as well. They're an association that is 100% volunteer. And they include psychologists, social workers, caseworkers, outdoor environmental studies teachers, and some phys ed teachers that all work together to assist disadvantaged and vulnerable youth in the outdoors with that therapeutic outcome. But of course, that's now widening a whole lot more to not just that cohort, but the entire student cohort across Australia. So thanks, Matt, very much for bringing that up. It's really, really important information for everyone to have. Luke, I might just quickly check back in with you.
The only other sort of questions is just sort of in regards to an update yesterday that was supposedly sent out by the Education Department, stating that no camps would continue until 2021. So I'll just follow this up and gain a bit more information and get back to people once we have some more updates around that aspect. Other than that, nothing directly, just some really good links being shared. Really good links being shared as well. So thank you everyone for sharing those.
Thanks, Luke. I think that we're about there. The only thing I was going to ask before we finished up was there's a Business Victoria Dash expansion grant where they asked for submissions into Business Victoria around support for business for up to for a $5,000 grant if you can demonstrate some level of income loss and hardship. It's a fairly straightforward application. That's been extended so that if you've applied for that original $5,000, you'll automatically receive another $5,000, so up to $10,000 now. But that application process is open until the 14th of September on the Business Victoria website. I definitely encourage everyone to have a look at that. And as I said, thank goodness, it is actually a straightforward application process. And usually within about 7 to 10 days, you get an answer of a yes or no. And then the money's usually hitting your account at about the 2 to 3 week mark. So please take advantage of that if you can. I just wanted to check with anyone, there's the challenging situation that's been pointed out by us and by Victoria Tourism Industry Council right up to Australian Tourism Industry Council into Minister Birmingham's office and the PM's office and things around casuals, which is a really difficult piece for our industry. But I just want to check in if there's some other apparent gaps that could be closed. And so I encourage you to make yourself known now if that's the case. Otherwise, you're very welcome to email me and we can have a more detailed chat, because we've obviously got direct links into Business Victoria. So I'll let anyone pop anything in there in the chat as to whether they'd actually like to quickly chat to us about that. Otherwise, we'll probably be finishing up in another minute or so. Luke, is there anything else that's popped into the chat function that we need to see if we can address now?
Not at this stage, just some good comments and conversations occurring through people and a few questions that we'll take on notice and then include in the video recording when this gets sent out in the coming days.
Okay, thanks very much, Luke. If there's anyone who does want to connect with me around any gaps in government support, please you can pop me an email at any time at ceo@outdoorsvictoria.org.au and we'll follow that up. And we'll obviously, if it's a question that's relevant to you, it's relevant to many other people on the call today. So we'll make sure we get that any kind of response back with the recording of today and the other answers. So I think without further ado, I think we'll finish it up for today, but we look forward to connecting with you in a couple of weeks. We'll keep you informed, of course, through any kind of bulletins with any upcoming news that's really important to everyone. Also, thank Emma very much for your involvement today. We very much appreciate having someone from Parks Victoria on the meeting, and great to have Queensland Outdoor Recreation Federation here, as well as thanks, Laurie, for your direct input today from Outdoors New South Wales and ACT. Thank you, everyone, and sending extra energy, positive energy your way, and really look forward to us all catching up again soon, and please stay in touch. We're here to help where and when we can. Thank you, and have an okay week. All the best.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Outdoors Victoria. Appreciate that.
Thank you.